Alright, let's watch Dandadan.
おっぱい吸わせてやるからよ。
Yes, please. Dandadan's almost finished airing, and it's definitely that standout slash popular show this season. It should have been Blue Lock, but it's a project that set the tone so well in terms of how unorthodox and stylistic it looks. The bold coloring, a lot of Canada-inspired animation, and more. There's a lot to uncover, so let's cover Dandadan. This video is mainly about the production value of the show, so I'm not gonna talk about the content much. There's a chance when the anime ends, maybe I'm gonna make a video about the story, but for now, animation. This philosophy on how Dandadan is so bombastic, yet can still be very subtle at utilizing so much other aspect in this medium, with meticulous, resourceful scenes that really don't need much time to execute, yet it can still feel engaging and interesting, from a source material that's already very fast-paced and high-octane, but the team still trying to find gaps or things they could extend in the manga to be better, but still didn't differ much from the source material, capturing that craziness of the show. I mean, there is people that want a one-to-one adaptation, but they're just... Wait, it's December. I need that money. How does this stylistic style can feel very different from other projects? Well, you can point to the studio. CEO of Saru, Masaki Yuasa, a very unorthodox director that really has that distinct style when he's directing, really made what the studio is right now with his philosophies and as the main director for most of the Saru projects, but stepped down as the CEO and director for the studio because he wants to take a break after working for basically 7 years straight. But even without Yuasa, they still follow through it with the directors that have been in the studio working alongside Yuasa. For Dandadan, this is the first time that they are trusting a new director for a high-profile project in terms of popularity. Fuga Yamashiro is the minds behind this project. While being a new director, he's definitely cemented himself as a very interesting director for Dandadan. He has only been in the industry for 7 years and got his first major role as assistant director for Izoken in 2020, so he doesn't really have much of an experience. So he does take a lot of inspiration from other directors. I mean, Yuasa got interested in Yamashiro because he had a thick ass book full of sequences that was eye-catching for him. Not that thick as you were thinking about, because damn,
I really want to suck his dick.
But nevertheless, his ambition and ideas was really captured in episode 1. He directed and storyboarded episode 1 and also episode 2, only storyboarded though. While there's a lot of other aspects than just Yamashiro, it's also his own art style slash ideas he created for Dandadan, playing around with very bright one-dimensional colors that clashes together. Satoshi Hashimoto alongside Makiho Kondo color design, giving that distinct color palette that clashes so well with everything and in every episode too. But most of all, to put all of these components together is the photography artist Kazuto Izumida. He has a very good portfolio being the director of photography for other shows, but he hasn't really done something this colorful. Well, he did Great Pretender. That shit was ass. So it's obvious. Okay, why did I say that? It's obvious that Yamashiro really set the tone of the show, but Izumida really did an amazing job putting all of these together so that it doesn't feel like they're just place effects on characters without second thought. Well, we'll talk about the negative soon. Another thing that's very good is Naoyuki Onda's design. How three-dimensional everything feels. While it can be hard for some inexperienced animators to translate that volumetric design, it definitely looks great when he's chief ADing an episode. And also the yokai slash alien design was by Yoshimichi Kamada, the most popular animator now that specializes in Canada style animating. Left the blueprint of the design how blocky it feels because he's unfortunately not involved in Dandadan much since he's the character designer for Yaiba, a very high profile project for next year, which is basically the Mob Psycho team. And additionally with Maiko Okada as animation producer for Sama Ranking, and also she's married to Kamada, so you know, who doesn't want to be close to their wife? Oh, what the fuck? Coming back to Yamashiro, his distinct style of directing and boarding is amazing, really utilizing everything, showing the unnerving nature of a place with just showing flashes of the art direction, really using lighting to his advantage to signify different emotions that the characters are talking about, or just a burst of Momo's emotion through the fucking spaceship exploding, and of course the different colors for the yokais or aliens. And again, clashing these very bold colors together is something that's not easy to translate to the final product. It's also something very good for directors to keep in mind. It's being resourceful, it's using limited drawings or other things but still give that impact. A good example is these 3 to 4 flashes of drawings that's very intended to give you time on what's happening, and also it's very resourceful. That same thing has also been in most episodes of Dandadan, even if it's by different directors. Again, with the lighting, they like to play around with it. They use it to give that suspense of revealing these fucking otherworld creatures or sex offenders wanting to eat some dick. Like me. The relationship I have with my boyfriend, with just using lighting tricks for a more unnerving tone, the very energetic nature of this project really can be in every segment in the show. The interactions are very comical in a way. While the dialogue itself is quite snappy, the anime really elevated it. The boards can be really unique, with sometimes distorting the background a bit, or just using some like manga panels type shit for montages. The animation itself, how exaggerated the character acting is, giving so much characteristics, and sometimes the character can look so stupid for comedic purposes. I mean, what the fuck is he running to, man? And also how weighty it is. The animators can really do whatever they want with their own specific art style. Really enhances with the expressions and of course the direction, sometimes slowing the scenes. Even for Okuro's morphing, and also this little cut is so interesting. How the glasses makes it unproportioned or just distort it, because glasses does that with the vision. It's such a subtle yet hard thing to do for Takeru Noda, the animator for this. The action too, how ambitious and dynamic everything is. The dynamic poses and almost very wacky action is so good. Also, the colors are very interactive with the fight. We saw a lot of cases with episode 1, 2, 4, and many more, with this monochromatic coloring that makes the vibrant colors stand out even more. Like when Okarun dashes like fucking Sonic. And even some stuff in episode 1 also, but the most ambitious usage of it was with episode 4 by Moko-chan. Moko-chan helmed this episode and has always been the assistant director for all the 9 episodes that's out right now. He was there since the beginning of the production with Yamashiro, so that the style that he built can still be brought forth in the other episodes that Yamashiro maybe couldn't do much supervision. Another person that should get more credit is Kensuke Ushio's OSTs. He did a really good job mixing so many genres and even sampling some popular songs, like in episode 4, William Tell Overturn Final, I don't remember the titles. And even with episode 5, with this guitar solo, it's something that was from an old movie called Kaiki Daisakusen from 1968, and it was also used in Karekano, but Dandadan used it for different motive slash scenes than those two. It was more awkward. And of course for the other episodes, Ushio popped off too with the soundtrack. Same goes for the VAs. Episode 4 kind of culminated everything in episode 1 and kind of turned it up a notch in terms of the ambition of the episode. Episode 1 still looks better. It can feel so isolated with the fight scene in the tunnel, using some clever framing work to make us viewer feel that our character being trapped, or it can just turn into something so energetic and fun when we're outside of the tunnel, with the Kaneda flair and the bombastic nature of everything. Also sometimes using 3D backgrounds for a more complex shot to translate that speed, or still drawing background animation even if the shot still looks very complex to do, because you have animators that can do that for the episode. Talking about animators, well, there's a lot of really good ones and interesting looking cuts by very new animators, or just go uncredited because maybe they're an in-house animator for Saru. One animator I want to say is Momofuji. While he hasn't appeared in the last 5 episodes, he was definitely one that stood out for me with his energetic cuts that's really good at the hold and release part. Of course, his drawing quality, even for non-action scenes, is really good. Also, there's a lot of Kaneda style animators in Dandadan, or just very talented freelance animators in the project. I've already gave my flowers for Enomoto, so go check that video out. I talk more in depth about episode 7. Now, I did probably have my expectations for the show quite high, more so talking about how it was gonna look pretty consistent every episode. But of course, this is the anime industry, no high profile show will look consistent. Maybe if it's by Kill Annie or Ufotable, but that besides the point. Of course, I wasn't expecting like episode 1 consistency or even episode 7 for the whole way through, but the problems was appearing already from the earlier episodes. These problems are just the norm for the industry, as sad as that sounds. Yes, some can be related to the studio because Saru has experienced not the best conditions or scheduling for their own projects, but seemingly this is the worst case. Even for episode 1, they had 4 assistant episode directors, 9 animation directors, and 8 assistant animation directors. If you compare that to episode 7, arguably the best looking episode, with probably more detailed drawings, had 1 animation director and 1 assistant animation director. They definitely wrapped the production pretty quickly. Even if they finished production before the air date, that doesn't mean anything. Just take any Adult Swim animes. They finished the project months before, but in the final product, it's a mess. Although this probably won't affect Dandadan, yes, the quality can waver a lot with different episodes. Like episode 3, they had to chill out a bit so that some other episodes can look as good as episode 1. It's all about time and resource management. Yes, there is some stiffness in betweening errors, weak looking drawings, and layout butchering, but all in all, for normies, it won't affect your viewing experience. But one thing I didn't like is the compositing or colors for episode 8 to 9. It felt very bright and saturated. There's so many cases in previous episodes that the compositing and overall value control can be good. Either that they really didn't have the time to do what they did for the latter episodes because seemingly it disrupted the drawings. Drawing any color that our character possesses, it's too saturated and there's some kind of glow effect or color grading thing. If you just look at these 2 shots, the orange are just overbearing with a flat color palette that doesn't work well. But for this shot from episode 1, there's so many colors clashing, but it looks good and the drawings itself stands out. Of course, there's also other aspects like the posing and foreshortening is better, but that doesn't matter from what I'm talking about. Dandadan's almost finished airing and it's easy to say that this show really stood out this season. I wanted to say a lot more, but pussy blood clot. Also, thank you to Kevin for making the Sakugablog. There's a lot more information about that, so you know, if you want the full picture of everything, just read that blog. If you guys like this video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a like. Comment down below what your thoughts on Dandadan. And yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. See you guys next time.